Before I talk about the voicemails, I need to explain what photonics actually are, because most people already know this without even realizing it. The photonic alphabet is a standardized system used to spell words clearly over radio and phone lines. Instead of saying individual letters that can be misheard like D, B, or T, you can replace them with specific words. So instead of saying B, you say Bravo, and instead of T, you say Tango. It's often used by pilots, police, military, and emergency services, anyone who needs to understood or to be understood clearly when a signal is imperfect. As seen on screen, here are the full photonic alphabets that include Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa, Quebec, Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-Ray, Yankee, and Zulu. If someone wanted to spell a word like help using photonics, they wouldn't say the letters. They'd say Hotel, Echo, Lima, and Papa. That's all it is. It's a tool for clarity. And that's why the voicemails stood out to me, because they weren't used to spell anything obvious. They weren't followed by an explanation, and in some cases, they weren't even complete. And most telling of all, they sound like they were meant for someone who already knew what they meant. Upon my more research, I ended up finding Atlas Dog, who has almost the same story as Reset. The clip that you just heard translates over to Zayden, you cannot hide, someone is coming. And what makes this more or less creepy being that his account before all of this was just a very normal account, the stuff you'd see on TikTok scrolling. Another TikTok user with an eerie similar voicemail to that of Atlas was Reset. Now, before him posting the video on the voicemail, his account was just normal, full of Rocket League clips until
Hotel, Alpha, Romeo, Romeo, Yankee, Yankee, Oscar, Uniform, Charlie, Alpha, November, November, Oscar, Tango, Hotel, India, Delta, Echo, Sierra, Oscar, Mike, Echo, Oscar, November.
Now, the voicemail said, Harry, you cannot hide, someone is coming, which also being eerily similar to that of Atlas. So, Reset and Atlas both had very similar, very similar voicemails, which begs the question, how does the voicemail know their name, and why is it repeating the same message to both of them? Now, I personally reached out to both of them and see if I could get something. So I did reach out to Reset and Atlas Dog, and Reset basically just told me that there was nothing new, nothing really going on, and it was on a caller ID or unknown basic number. But I also did do more research and did come across another Reddit forum. r/mildly creepy, a user by the name of Brendan Gaming 65 took to Reddit and posted, got the most unsettling voicemail I've ever heard. And it read, so last night at like 3:17 a.m., I was sleeping at this time, I got a call from a number of the same area code as me. And when I checked my voicemail, I heard some weird growl talking at the start, and then a heartbeat. And then it started talking in some native photonic alphabet. Then that one whisper AI voice when I called back the number. It was a normal guy picked up, so I'm assuming someone spoofed the guy's number but I'm very disturbed by this, and I have no idea who this could be, or it could be some sort of prank. In the caption, she did leave a link to the voicemail. This is what it showed.
India Tango Sierra Space November Echo Victor Echo Romeo Space Tango Oscar Oscar Space Sierra Oscar Oscar November.
Traveling back to the Reddit page, the comment section all unanimously agree on each other that this is rather unsettling, but one does stick out to me. This one talking about number stations. Number stations are a mystery thing, and what they are a mysterious radio wave broadcasting consisting of formatted numbers, letters, or Morse code, widely believed to be used by intelligence agencies to communicate with spies in foreign countries. The first report of coded radio message dated back to World War I. Every transmission primarily used Morse code on low and medium wave frequencies. During World War II, the use of coded radio broadcast grew, with the BBC reportedly sending hidden messages to resistant fighters overseas. During the Cold War, the number stations became prolific between the 1950s and the 1980s as tensions escalated between the Eastern and the Western blocs, because they provided a secure one-way communication for agents behind enemy lines. They've been dropped after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Many stations still remain today, utilized by countries such as Russia, Cuba, and North Korea. What the number stations could possibly mean, or have anything to do with this, could be the fact that the number stations may be sending messages to people in the voicemails, and there is proof for this. r/I, a Reddit user by the name of BBB, that's 5 B's, took to Reddit to explain what happened to them when they got calls by number stations. Over a period of about 14 hours on May 12, 2021, I got a series of seemingly unexplainable phone calls from a blocked number. The first call came in right after 8 a.m., and the last call came in just before 10 p.m. There was never any sort of regularity of how often the calls came in, but it was usually every 20 or 45 minutes or so. The caller ID on my phone listed nothing but private. I don't normally pick up the phone for private numbers because they are often spam/scammers trying to sell me extended warranties or something. So I didn't pick up the phone for the first few times they called. After the fourth or fifth call from the blocked number, I picked up because I figured maybe it was legitimately someone on the other side trying to contact me about something important. The voice on the other end was almost like some sort of automated computer voice listing out random numbers and letters from the NATO Phonetic alphabet. If you ever listen to recordings of number stations, these calls sounded very similar to that. It ran through its thing and said message repeat, then listed the same numbers and letters again. At first, I figured it was some sort of spam or text trying to if someone would actually pick up, and that after I had answered, they wouldn't call back. The calls still kept coming, and every call was identical, listing the same letters and number each time. I was able to get a recording of the calls by holding my phone up to my webcam mic. Please excuse the poor audio and cheesy ringtone.
0, 15, Echo, Romeo, November, Foxtrot, 24, 0, 19, 1, 5, 15, Echo, Echo, November, message repeat. 0, 15, Echo, Romeo, November, Foxtrot, 24, 0, 19, 1, 5, 15, Echo, Echo, November, message finished. Announcement 274B.
So after going back and forth double checking this voicemail, it turns out this specific one was a prank done by the own person's friend. And it's important because not everything belongs in the same category. That doesn't apply to the other voicemails. This one in particular, this one doesn't apply to the other ones. So let's talk about what this could actually be without dismantling why it feels unsettling. A lot of people hear these voicemails and immediately think intention, like something is spelling a message, or worse, that it somehow knows who you are. But before we jump there, we need to understand how voicemails are created in the first place. When someone calls you, your voicemail doesn't record raw sound like a tape recorder. The call is broken into data, routed through servers, reconstructed, sometimes transcripted, and sometimes respoken by a system. That means there's a moment where no human voice is actually present. It's just machines intercepting against signals. Now here's something important. The photonic alphabet isn't mysterious. It exists for one reason: clarity under uncertainty. A computer doesn't prefer letters like we do. When it's unsure what a signal represents, it defaults to standardized labels like Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, because those are globally consistent. So when you hear photonics in a voicemail, that doesn't mean someone is spelling a sentence. It usually means the system is saying, I don't know exactly what this is, so I'm labeling it. The photonic alphabet doesn't use numbers. Humans don't, but telecom systems do. Behind the scenes, calls are tagged with numerical identifiers, routing codes, line IDs, timestamps, pocket counters. If these numbers leak into an audio reconstruction, the system will read them out, literally. So you don't end up with letters and numbers, not as a language, but data being verbalized. As for number stations, traditional shortwave number stations do not leave voicemails, but you may get number station style voicemails from telemarketing or robocalls testings or ringless voicemails. They don't typically send voicemails. Now let's talk about the big one, the big part, where it really freaks people out. How could a voicemail possibly know someone's name? There are a few explanations for this. One being, your name already exists inside the system. It's tied to your phone number, your voicemail, greeting, your account metadata, and sometimes even your contacts. If a voicemail system glitches during a transcript or playback loop, it can accidentally pull stored identifiers instead of a fresh audio. In other words, the system isn't recognizing you, it's accessing a label it already has. Second, the voicemail greeting. If your voicemail greeting includes your name, even faintly, a corrupted call can retrigger that audio fragment. So what sounds like a message addressing you might actually be your own data echoing back. And third, the most important one, your brain. The brain is extremely sensitive to its own name. We're wired to wake up, focus, and assign meaning immediately. So when you hear ambiguous audio, especially in a private space like a voicemail, your brain fills in the gap. Not because you are paranoid, but because that's how social survival perception works. The someone is coming interception. This is where things cross from mechanics into psychology. Machines don't warn, they don't hint, they don't speak symbolically. If someone truly wanted to deliver a message, it wouldn't rely on ambiguity. Almost anything that requires interception is almost always noise, not signal. What's happening here isn't prophecy, it's pattern recognition. Why it still feels real, and I get why this doesn't feel like a satisfying answer, because hearing a flat, emotionless voice use precise language triggers authority in our brains. It sounds official, it sounds deliberate, and a voicemail feels personal, but unsettling doesn't match intentional. Closing this theory, the most realistic explanation isn't that something is trying to communicate. It's that we're accidentally overhearing the back end of a modern system, and they weren't designed to sound human. They were listening to machines to try to make sense of broken information. And when humans overhear that, we turn it into a story. That doesn't make you stupid. It just makes you human.